It's extremist to be an American, CNN would have you believe, and there's no one more extremist than President Trump.
This president has radicalized so many more people than ISIS ever did. I mean, the way he talks, the way he
the way he talks,
the way that he allows these people, the way he winks and nods to these groups, the way he says, I know I'm not supposed to say it, but I'm a nationalist.
That's GQ columnist Julia Ioffe. And yes, Republican commentator David Urban is correct. It is unconscionable. But so is the hardcore anti-American liberal left.
The Washington Post reports that in the 2016 election, more than 135 million votes were cast. And there were, guess how much documented cases of voter fraud? 4.
There was a study done this month that found 1,046 illegal aliens were registered to vote in the state. If you look at that number, that was just taken in 8 counties in Virginia. That doesn't include Arlington and Fairfax County, which are the biggest counties in northern Virginia and are Democratic strongholds.
Right. Well, and that's just Virginia.
And while our lawfully elected president calls the Guatemalan caravan mob an invasion,
thousands and thousands of people on the bridge, when you looked at that bridge loaded up with people, that's called an invasion of our country.
CNN tells viewers, don't be fooled by Trump's caravan misinformation campaign, assuring its dwindling leftist audience it's no invasion. But once again, James Woods gets it right. Here come the children. And while we all know that this is 100% true,
we're defending our borders, because if you don't have borders, you don't have a country.
I've been saying this before I ever thought of running for office. We have to have strong borders. If we don't have strong borders, we don't have a country.
the leftists on CNN, MSNBC, WAPO, New York Times, and their Mockingbird relic media outlets would have you believe that you're a bigot for caring about your nation and its borders at all.
We should be talking about it as a humanitarian crisis. And instead, the president is choosing fear to just keep people afraid.
I like the NPC meme a lot, but maybe there should be a Soros meme. Let's put little Soros heads on every single one of these people, because those are George Soros globalist talking points. And guess what? Our president recently used the N-word.
Do you want to further clarify what nationalism means to you?
To me, I don't have to clarify. It means I love the country. It means I'm fighting for the country. I look at two things, globalists and nationalists. I'm somebody that wants to take care of our country because for many, many years, you know this better than anybody, our leaders have been more worried about the world than they have about the United States, and they leave us in a mess.
He's a nationalist, abhorrent to globalists like George Soros. Little the left does or says anymore works because every single one of their talking points and policies is antithetical to a sovereign people and nation with a Bill of Rights, Constitution, and rule of law.
We will no longer surrender this country or its people to the false song of globalism. The nation state remains the true foundation for happiness and harmony.
So who are these insane people, and why on earth would they try to sell these bankrupt, pro-communist ideas to Americans? Here's what my recent guest John B. Wells had to say about them.
Well, you heard that old bag cackle. We came, we saw, he died. She is a bloodthirsty, evil individual. She really is. She is lost. She is of her father, the devil.
We have been given an extraordinary blessing. And at this moment in time, our country needs us. And we need people like George Soros, who is fearless and willing to step up when it counts. So please join me in welcoming George Soros.
It's worth reminding you, friends, that Q, which far more than being just a LARP may well turn out to be our president himself or one of his closest confidants, has warned us that the plan of these people under a Hillary Clinton presidency would have been, quote-unquote, hell on earth, while calling these enemies of America pure evil. I've made the point many times before that evil Q describes is quantifiable, both from the history of Mao and Stalin, but also from the specific words of Weather Underground infiltrator Larry Grothwall.
I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers, and hear them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people. And they were dead serious.
The Weather Underground was a leftist, Marxist, radical group that counted William Charles Ayres, a Barack Obama lieutenant and mentor, among its membership. Now, if you think that the battle for the soul of our nation has not reached a fevered pitch as we approach the midterm elections, just consider the testimony of Larry Grathwohl as he describes the horror that militant organization had planned for America.
They also believed that their immediate responsibility would be to protect against what they called the counter-revolution. And they felt that this counter-revolution could best be guarded against by creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be.
They planned to exterminate tens of millions of Americans who could not be re-educated to the new ways of thinking, the communist ways of thinking. Think Mao, think Stalin. Too crazy to believe, right? Too hard to pull off, right? Remember, pure evil. Just think about what they were able to pull off under Barack Obama. And a Hillary Clinton White House would have been the coup de grace, the final stages of their horrific and purely evil plans. It would have been hell on earth. And I want you to remember the words of Larry Grathwohl and Q as you watch this video of Walmarts and a Target store that were redesigned during the Obama era into monstrosities near train tracks, which very closely resemble detainee holding areas or prisons where tens of thousands could be identified and processed before God only knows what.
Here we are at the Walmart. You can see the portholes. For one day will be a FEMA camp. It's pretty obvious the way this is designed. It's right by a railroad tracks.
And you see all those little portholes over there? Like right there, there.
And there's a security cam.
A lot of high-tech security cams up there now.
Guard towers? You don't need guard towers out there. A lot of portholes too.
Lot of portholes. There's no other reason for those to be there except for that they're portholes.
That huge gate is here.
So here we are at the Albany, California Target. Does this look like a department store to you? Oh, look at this, look at this. The only windows are in the front. You go around the side, it's just all iron. Giant slabs of metal. Look at this fence. What is this, for the garden center? What is this fence? I don't know what are they trying to keep out of here? Look at this fence. What the? This is the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Look at the side here. It's just like the whole, just look at this. Look at this. And then here's the train tracks right here. Train tracks right here. Train tracks. Targets. What is this cage for? Is this supposed to be for the gardens area? Why is it empty? Why is there a little room in the middle for? It's not for the garden center.
By creating and establishing re-education centers in the Southwest, where we would take all the people who needed to be re-educated into the new way of thinking and teach them how things were going to be.
When Q says pure evil, it's not conjecture. It's historical fact. The elections in November have never, ever been more important. We are in a war with the enemies of freedom. We are in a war with the very enemies of the Constitution and the United States. May God bless you all. Get out and vote in November. And for real news 24/7, visit us at sgtreport.com.
You're going to see arrests, and then you're going to see indictments, and then you're going to see convictions. They are scared to death.